Keep listening, if you dare.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Half Past Dead Paranormal Radio with your host, Roger Belt. This is a premiere on this network. And I have my good friend, William Wallace, with me tonight. And we're just going to talk about, William and I have talked about a lot of things, so we're just going to kind of throw the fish in the water and see where it swims. William, how are you tonight, my friend?
I'm doing just fine, Roger. And yourself?
I am doing fairly well. I'm a nervous wreck because this is a new thing for me, but I think we're going to do just fine.
Well, my friend, thank you very much for inviting me on to your first radio show with this network. These people seem like they have all kinds of things that are going to be really interesting to be fun to play with. And for all of those people who are following Roger from his previous network, welcome, and I hope that you put the word out there that Roger's back on the air.
Awesome. And we've got a lot of good people in here. If you're not familiar with the Paranormal 101, Chuck Banks, of course, and Jenny you talked to earlier. There's a lot of good people in here. And William and I kind of have a little bit of, how would I word this? The same sort of gift, you could say. Now, he's probably a lot more in tune to it than I am. I just, things happen with me when they happen. I don't question it. I just run with it. So, but we've talked about stuff before, like ley lines and how they interact and the energy that comes from those. I'm gonna get down here in the chat room because looks like I'm the only one home.
Well, Roger and I have had similar experiences, and I don't consider myself any more proficient than Roger is. I think it's interesting that Roger and I have had similar experiences in similar situations. And taking that from the last time that I talked to Roger on the radio here, I began doing some research about things that were used to focus or elements that were used, that were found to be present in areas that are highly active. And I kept on coming back to running water and quartz crystals. During my research for this thing, I found an item that was created in 1950s. Okay, and I'm trying to find the name. I don't want to mispronounce it. Well, I'm probably going to mispronounce it, but I don't want to misrepresent it. It was, for lack of a better word, a camera that focused spirit. And it allowed, through the use of prisms and certain oscillations, a hypersensitization and the ability to affect on micro energy the experience of the real world. And it was called one of the things was called the psionics machine. And this line of investigation was dropped, probably because it was came out approximately at the same time that Dow Chemical and Union Products and like this was having great success, great financial success, creating things that would kill bugs on fields and things like this, when this other radio thing could be used. I'm trying to find the specific. Here it is. The Delaware Psychotronic Camera Project. Now, none of this is my research. It's just what I have found existed at one time and was thought to be an extremely interesting field of study. But when it found out that it wasn't financially, you could build one of these things for about $50 at the time, which would be about $500 today. But it wasn't something that could be financially profitable for the company that was making it.
More like Tesla's free energy thing.
Exactly like Tesla, and that is something that it keeps on hammering at the back of my head. Edison created a light bulb, and is also created the network of copper wires that brings power that everyone pays for in the form of the electricity that they turn a switch for. Tesla,
AC/DC, like the band AC/DC, but Edison wanted to do the thing where everything was hooked to through wires, and Tesla's idea was a wireless free energy source.
And because you said the magic word, free energy source, the same with, I believe the same thing it can be offered through this Delaware's radio. Now it says that I'm just reading from a transcript I found online here. It's called the Radionic Camera, developed in the 1950s by George Delaware, was capable of imaging the past and the future, and he published thousands of photographs demonstrating the effect. He has also used this. It is one of the things that this camera was capable of. Another thing that it was capable of was being focused on a field of crops. Let's, for the sake of understanding it, corn. So you would focus this camera on corn, and then you would, being the person, is the agent of change in this. You would focus through the focusing lens. You would concentrate on the focusing lens and say no bugs or whatever. Now this sounds absolutely fantastical, right? You would say, I don't want there to be bugs on my corn. And there was like an 80% drop of insects on the field, that part of the field that was focused on with this camera. That sounds like PFM, doesn't it? Pure freaking magic. But this apparently, according to the research I was able to uncover, that's exactly what happened. Now, Dow Chemical would be put out of business by something like this. And because you can't tell why it happened that way or how it happened that way, obviously if you can't measure it, it's make-believe, right?
Exactly. Or according to the modern scientific frame of mind.
Right. So anyway, this is a documented case. These are documented cause and effects things that have happened, and trying to find, it's Delaware's camera, and let me spell it for you. Let me find it again.
Okay, for everybody out there that's listening, we are in the chat room of the Blog Talk Radio studio, so if you're in the Everywhere chat, you're in the wrong place. You need to come over here. Anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Doug. Go ahead.
So anyway, I just put the man's name. That's the scientist who is credited with developing this. He was discredited. Surprise, surprise. So was Tesla. He was discredited with what he was doing. And I'm sorry, Janice just said that we can't. She can't hear us. I'm sorry for that because I've got it right up to the phone right up to my mouth here. I can't talk any louder without the neighbors banging on the wall. So okay, so here we are. Here is a case, I believe is a case, of something that could have been used to save the earth. Stop poisoning people with DDT. Drop the cancer rate in half. But there was no money in it, so it was ignored.
Same thing with Tesla. When his backers found out they couldn't put a meter on it, like, no, can't help you.
So this was just an interesting side effect of the research that I did. I promised George that I was going to take his talk about ley lines, PowerPoints, and haunted places, because that's something that we both have very much in common. Don't please, if you call up, don't start talking to us about politics. They guarantee you George and I will get in an argument.
No, we're not doing politics. This is paranormal only, people.
But both of us are in agreement that there are things that happen in the world that cannot be measured with a ruler or an EMF meter. So here we are on the radio, and I would like to speak about the element quartz. I'm not really that much of a scientist. Is it an element or?
I'm not either, but I know that quartz, running water, limestone, there's several different things that will influence what am I looking for here? Will influence spirit activities, so to speak. Not just necessarily spirit activity, but it can also influence the living.
I'm sorry, I missed what you said, Roger.
I said that it will not only influence spirit activity, but it will also influence the living. It can influence the living as well. It puts off an energy, and I don't know if you're going to follow me here, what I'm about to say, but we have a resonance that we put up, our energy output.
Right.
And
resonance.
Some of the energy output from this stuff is different from what we put out, so it will affect our output.
Right, definitely. Now, I was brought to interest on this particular point with the quartz and the running water and the similarities of experience that Roger and I had. I was involved with the Victorian mansion, the S.K. Pierce Mansion in South Gardner Hotel. And there was, in my opinion, there was sort of the perfect storm there at the mansion. It had a quartz granite block cellar. Attached to the cellar was a tunnel that went under the roadway, the Broadway in South Gardner, that led into the foundation of the factory that S.K. Pierce owned. That way there, in the wintertime, he could go from his mansion to his factory without ever having to go above ground. And they didn't have snowplows back then. It was the turn of the 18th century. So that was the foundation of what happened. Now, at the end of that tunnel was a brook that was kept from overflowing its bank ends by, again, the same type of quartz and granite causeway that directed the brook around the foundation of both the factory, which, again, granite and quartz, was the base of the cellar of the factory. This man was a millionaire. He had all the money that he could ever want, and he put together the factory, and from the factory built the house, and he put the house together for his wife. His wife was the love of his life, and she passed away, unfortunately, a few months after the mansion was built. So the mansion was built under a gloomy cloud, if you will. It was built for her, and she died in the mansion a month or two after it was built. I don't know the exact history of it, but I do know that is one of the things that happened. Now, when I go in there as an empath and I walk into the Victorian, I get this unusual energy that comes to me, and it is, and the way I can best describe it, it's like when Dorothy opens up the door to her black and white Kansas farmhouse, and she looks out on the land of Oz. When I walk into the Victorian as an empath, I opened up the doors, and it just becomes technicolor. I breathe better. I see better. Images are sharper. The edges are sharper. The corners are more beautiful. The colors are more vibrant. And that is what I feel as an empath when I'm there. Now, Roger has had a similar situation happen to him. But as Roger had just said, we vibrate at different frequencies. One of the things that that is different is what areas empower us. Now, if you could, Roger, could you explain the moment that you described to me previously about sitting in that circle in the woods?
Well, I used to hunt a lot, which I don't now, but I used to squirrel hunt a lot, stuff like that. One particular evening I was out on, a squirrel hunting little expedition or whatever, and I was over behind my uncle's house. There's a woods that goes back through there, and there used to be an old house back there, and I don't know if this has anything to do with that. This house was built back when they used natural stones, and they used for the foundation they would use like cut logs, kind of like you would cut for firewood, that you split up, just like a little short, stubby piece of log. They used that for a foundation back then, and everything was done, of course, built on top of those. Boy, that's all that's left there, even if that's even still there. But just before you get there, there was a little area of woods, and I've been to these woods a bunch of times before this happened. But this one certain day, I was going up through there, and as I was going up the hill, there's a little area there with a dead log laying across the ground there, and it was surrounded by like little young trees and stuff, which were surrounded by the larger, And I was climbing up the hill, and I thought, well, I'm going to sit on that log over there, and just watch to see if I see any squirrels coming out. So once I walked into the little area of the little young trees where the log was on the ground, it was like walking into a different world. The only way I can explain it, you could feel the ions in the air, you could feel the energy in the air. It was different. And the thing that was really unique about this is once I entered that area, everything went dead quiet. I mean, you couldn't hear the squirrels, in the leaves anywhere away from you. You couldn't hear the birds. You couldn't hear anything. So I go over and sit down on the stump, and as I sat there, I noticed how peaceful everything was. It was like all of your anxiety melted away. Anything, like if you had financial worries you was worried about, it was all gone. Anything and everything that would have put you into a bad mood was all gone. I mean, it was just like being in I guess as close to what you would call heaven as there is on earth, if that makes sense. I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave. And I felt like I was there for a long time, and I know I couldn't have been there over probably 5 minutes. But it seemed like I was there for hours. But as soon as I walked back out of that, and the funny thing about it is these places don't last. They don't stay there. It's kind of like, I guess, you can walk into it, walk out of it, and try to walk back in, and it's gone. Which is what I did because I wanted to see for myself. But when I walked back out of that area, all the sound came back. You could hear everything just like it was before. All your anxiety come flooding back in. It's like power overload. But anyway, I turned around and I walked back into the area where I was just at, and it was different. I mean, it was like normal. All the sound was still there. Everything was still there. You didn't feel the difference in the air. You didn't nothing. You don't.
And that variable that you were in and it was on, you stepped outside the circle, your frequency changed, or the frequency inside the circle, and I'm using this as a visualization, the two did not sink in again, so that's why you didn't get it. But there is that micro energy, and that's the subject of what I'm trying to get to with this. Okay, in the 1950s, there was a quite a lot of study done on crystals and things like that, crystals and micro energies and things that you can't charge for. And then there's the other things that we think are the greatest technology that ever happened. Well, it's not that way. Okay, and the reason I say it's not that way is because we have intentionally blinded ourselves to the world that's around us. We have intentionally blinded ourselves, and we call spirit religion. We absolutely determine that everybody who doesn't look at the world the way we look at the world are wrong, and so we are divisive in amongst ourselves. There have been, and they are finding every day, hundreds of different civilizations that we don't have names for. Off the coast of Japan, they have monolithic structures that are bigger than the pyramids, and they don't know who built them. And because we don't know who built them, we just forget it because it doesn't fit into the story that we tell ourselves. And every time you pick up a history book, it should begin with, once upon a time, there was the cradle of civilization, which was Mesopotamia. And the pyramids were built by a whole bunch of people pulling rocks up a sandy slope and stacking one on top of the other. And that picture that shows a light bulb in the center of the pyramid is just deco art. If it doesn't fit, we ignore. If it doesn't fit, we explain it away. If I walk into a house and I see everything in Technicolor and I try to describe it to somebody, they say, demons have your soul, my friend, because you are looking at the demon.
There you go.
And it's because I don't see
that every haunted house has demons in it too, right?
Oh, that house has scary spirits. It has, and it's not and this is what I really want to point out about these things. The spirits are empowered because of the energy that is there. The spirits are not empowered because they're good or evil. They're empowered because they have found, just like when you stepped out of that circle and back into that circle, they have found a place where their harmonics match the harmonics of that house, of that brook running beside.
I'm going to bring this up too because I posted a thing about this on Facebook recently just to see what kind of reactions would come around.
Right.
Any place that you go to that is reportedly haunted or whatever, and you know, if it is or if it isn't, still, the point I'm trying to get to here is you hear people talk about, well, when you go into a haunted place, you need to respect those spirits because, you know, they were human once. Okay, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
But and this is my way of thinking, and y'all can label me crazy however you want to do it, but the building itself has a spirit. Like your colonial.
Right.
has a spirit. Waverly Hills has a spirit. The building. Now, I'm not talking about the 6,000 something deaths or whatever. I'm talking about the building itself. Everything, if you go back to Native American tradition, everything has a spirit. Rocks, trees, grass, everything.
Right.
When you build a building, whether it be concrete, bricks, concrete, whatever you use, metal, steel, it all came from the earth, and it all has a spirit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and my thing was, you know, when you go into a place, you better respect the spirit of that building as much as you do the spirit in that building. You know, because believe it or not, some of the bad things that happen in some of these places may not necessarily be spirits of the dead people. But if you're going around just disrespecting that building in any kind of way, things can happen.
Well, I don't believe in provoking, mainly because if someone was to walk into a place where I feel comfortable, because this is, I mean, I'm just taking me and imagining myself on the other side. And if somebody goes and Roger was to come into my space, okay, this space that is, let's say the Victorian. Roger was to come into my space at the Victorian and start calling me bad names, and start saying bad things about my mom, and so on and so on. Yes, he might get a result. What do they call that? He might get evidence that there is indeed a spirit in that area that is unhappy. But what's going to happen is Roger's going to pack up his equipment. He's going to go home. And that unhappy spirit is still there and still pissed off.
Yep.
See, don't you like those scientific words I use, pissed off? He's and that spirit or that energy is still there, and it's not a positive energy. Okay? And so somebody, I mean, in the case of what happened at the Victorian, I keep going back to that because I'm most familiar with it. And people who might be listening in on the radio program, they are familiar with some of the things that have happened because of the ghost hunters that have gone there on television and the stories that have been told about that. And here's the thing that gets me about what happened there. People would come in very early on, took extreme advantage of the owners, Edwin and Lillian, at the time. New owners have since taken over the property. But at the time, Edwin and Lillian were naive to the situation. They were both in denial that, I mean, they said that there are no such things as ghosts and that these people were going to come in and investigate. I guess in their opinion, they were like Shaggy and Scooby. Okay, they were going to come in and pull the rubber mask off the evil banker, and everything was going to be, you know, liberal heaven. So I did it. I had to throw it in there, Roger. I'm sorry. So here, and that's what happened. And people came in, and seriously, they came in with a bucket of septic water and figuratively spilled it all over the place and then left. And Edwin and Lillian were forced to live in a situation that these people had created. So I don't agree in provoking because you put an energy into that place that is already highly energized. And you put a negative energy into that location that is untenable for the people who have to live there. And I'm going to get my Class A EVP, I don't care what. That's preposterous. That is so completely selfish.
What people do in order to, quote, unquote, here, capture evidence. There's a right way and there's a wrong way. You know, and the right way is you respect what you're dealing with. You know, and trust me, you can get a lot of evidence being respectful.
Absolutely. But you're not going to get that.
In most cases, more than you'll get when you're being a, pardon my expression here, asshole.
Okay. That's a good expression.
Because all you're going to do is, like you said, is you're going to tick them off, and if you do get anything, it's not going to be good.
But that's the scary thing. That's the people who are out there to find a ghost, and their idea of a ghost is not a spirit that is crossed over. It's not a place where the veil is thin. It's that scary, creepy thing that is semi-transparent and wears a sheet and goes boo. That's what they're trying to identify. And so, no. But that's what they're looking for. They want to have something that's going to give them that vicarious little adrenaline rush, that, I'm scared because something goes, get out. Well, if you piss me off, I'll say that, and I ain't dead. I think when you said that an area has an energy, yes, it does. And you can adjust that energy just like you can change the station on a radio. By turning that knob to left or right, you can make it a positive energy, or you can make it a negative energy, depending on what you feed into that void that is energy.
If you already have a negative energy there, you're going to multiply the force of that energy. It's kind of like the witch's thing, whatever you said, that's going to come back times 3.
Right.
I
believe in that, only in that.
You go in there and you have a negative energy to start with, and you piss it off.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It just is.
Right, I believe that. Okay, so negative people were coming in, and they were trying to get these super duper scary whatever from the Vic. I want to say the first 2 years, people were in there, and they were just provoking, and they were just throwing all these wild things out there. They were using spirit boards to try and call demons to talk to them. There were, F.U., S.K. Pierce, F.U. They had some people who had made the mistake of thinking that going to the city hall and finding a list of people that live there and then calling these names out, this was going to somehow get them some sort of an EVP. And they really muddied the water in that place. I was unaware of any of this going on. I had just met Edwin and Lillian. They had said, I didn't watch Ghostbusters. I didn't watch Taps or Zach Baggins and his crew. I didn't watch any of that stuff on TV. So I didn't know what was going on with any of that stuff. I just had this I was drawn to this house. I knocked on the door and I talked to Edwin. That was my introduction to this. I knew nothing about what was going on, but I walked into the place, and Edwin and I sat and talked, first time we met, for about 6 hours, and he was jumping and starting, and I kept looking over his shoulder and pissing him off because I saw somebody walking up the stairs. Well, we became friends, and then information started coming out, and he was very upset about letting this information out because he knew that he had been naive. So all of the things that had been happening, he was trying to stop them from happening. And gradually, the house got better. Do you understand?
Right.
Right. It stopped being this cesspool, and it started to be a swimming hole, a place where you'd want to jump in and splash around.
It's kind of like when a person is sick, you got to heal them. It takes time. You can't. Well, all right. Let me put it like this: you can't stir a pot of crap, and the smell is just overwhelming, and it's going to go away in 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying?
Right, I do.
It takes a while for it to wear off.
The only reason I know that is because I had to dig a cesspit, and I know all about stirring crap.
And if you keep the idiots out long enough, it will calm down.
Well, they had done that, and it was working very well for them. Okay? They were screening the people who were coming in. It wasn't just come up, knock on the door. Hi, I got an EVP box. Okay, or whatever they call those things that and now you can do it with your phones, smartphones, but they used to have these digital recorders. I got a digital recorder and I'm a ghost hunter. Okay, come on in. You know?
Well, I've got a digital recorder too, but
I'm still not a ghost hunter. All right? I have a place that I really want to
I haven't got together yet, but
I have a place that I want to put together to go on a ghost hunt. It's in my original hometown, which was Leominster, Massachusetts. And if I ever get a chance to get in there, I'm going to throw together a hand-picked group of people, and I'm going to go look at this 5-story house that covers a quarter of an acre, and I'm going to be in there from sunset to sunrise because during the day it's busy. People come and go. It's like a business. If I can get into that place, I'm going to come out of there. I'm just going to be such a happy camper. I had an opportunity to walk into there during a different event, and I walked around. I saw so many different spirits and felt so many different things that were all 90% of them were positive. I just really want to get that thing done. But anyway, back to the Victorian. Edwin had everything straightened out. Things were going very well there at the Victorian. And then, as you said earlier, one butthead. See, I don't know if I can swear. You're the host. You can swear. One butthead
is one idiot, though.
came in and messed it up. Absolutely messed it up. There was a guiding filter that was there at the Victorian, and I considered this spirit to be a female, and I called her Maggie. That's with a G, M-A-G-G-I-E. And she ran the place. She said who was to stay, who was to go on the spirit side. She said what was right, what wasn't, and
am I to assume that she was the original owner?
No, she was a person who, I'm going to say she is a spirit of somebody. I have less than agreeable conversations with other people who are there at the house. I believe that she was a madam because she absolutely ran the house. Okay, she was the you can stay, you can go, you overstepped your bounds, you belong on the third floor, don't come downstairs, that kind of thing. And I believe that Maggie was the madam of the place, and it was all good. Then somebody came along and exorcised the demon, performed a cleansing, and took the most powerful spirit in the house and walked it out the door. That, when you have something that is balancing an area, keeping it at that one frequency that we were speaking about earlier. All right? You still there? My phone on?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. I'm just saying that because I'm trying to, I saw something in chat, and I tried to put it in chat, and I started talking sideways. So when Maggie was walked out of the house, the balancing point, that point on the seesaw where it touches the bar, was missing. And what was on the third floor could get down to the cellar. What was on the cellar could get up to the third floor. It was just chaos. During that time, something bad happened to the owners. Both Edwin and Lillian were attacked. And
I know you're in here for a reason. I don't see anything in my chat. What are you seeing and where at?
Janice Bruner said, "Oh, I know, like the satellite house. I felt sorry for the spirits there."
What chat room are you in? Because I don't see anybody.
I'm looking at Blog Talk Radio. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm saying I don't have any chat. I mean, I have a chat room, but I'm the only one in it.
Well, in that case, hi, Roger. Welcome to my radio show.
Where is it? I don't get it. I don't see
I'm looking at Paranormal Talk 101. Blog Talk Radio. It's right underneath my my little bio there. Oh, my goodness. Listen to the free streaming internet radio. I'm talking to Janice Bruner.
Okay, well, for some reason, I'm in the studio, so I don't see what you see, I guess.
Okay, Janice Bruner just wrote, "Hi, Roger."
Well, hello, Janice. Thanks for coming, but I can't see you.
All right.
I don't know what's going on. Okay.
She said she was, okay. Okay, she did say earlier she was having trouble hearing us, but she came back, and I guess it's okay now. Okay. So anyway, both Edwin and Lillian were attacked, and I think that's because the frequency was changed of the location. I mean, based on what we're saying, the frequency was changed because of the actions of this person who went in there and walked out Maggie. And so things happened, and Edwin and Lillian were not protected from themselves because they were at ease with the house itself. Things were going good in the house, and then they were both attacked, and then they said, "Okay, that does it. We've got to leave. We can't do this." So that brings me back to, and I keep on trying to get back to this micro energy. Okay, the running water, the quartz in the foundation of both the factory and the house, the tunnel that was. It said it was filled in. I think just the end of the tunnels were covered over. The history of the house itself has a lot of. I think there was 7 deaths reported in less than 100 years on that property. That's just the ones that were reported. It was a body house, a cat house for a decade or so. There was the house itself has Masonic symbology throughout during the construction, which is not unusual for something that happened in the 1800s, something built in the 1800s. So your circles, the circles that you described there in the woods, that had a frequency, and then it didn't have the frequency. The house had a good vibe, and then it didn't have a good vibe, and then the owners actively tried to change what was happening with that location, and they did, and they were successful in it, but then they made the mistake of letting some, and using your word, some idiot come in and walk out the balancing agent because they knew what they were doing. And this is where you and I both agree. If you know what you're doing in the paranormal field, write it down, please, because as soon as you make a mistake because you really didn't know what you were doing, we'll have it in writing. We feel things. I'm an empath. We feel things. People who are mediums, who are able to contact people on the other side, they're the rock stars. I get contacted sometimes. I get somebody who flashes something into my head, a spirit flashes something into my head, and I have to make a connection between what they flashed at me and who it's for. Sometimes I know, sometimes I don't, and I lose a lot of sleep over that. But I don't know. You see, that's the thing that gets me, Roger. I don't know. And somebody can turn around and say, I know what's happening here. Please tell me how you know. You feel it that way? Well, if you feel that that is what's going on, that's just your feelings. It is like an opinion. And we all know that everyone has an opinion, and they have another part of their anatomy that is similar to their opinion. So, okay, that's my off-color joke. I only had one. You there?
Yeah,
Roger?
I think I just in the chat room.
All right, there you go. Bam, I see you. Paranormal Talk 101. Gotcha. Shades of Emerald. So, okay, microenergies, ley lines, PowerPoints. We are surrounded by PowerPoints. I live in a big apartment building. It's 4 stories high. It used to be a factory. All of the things that I described about the Victorian are here in this house. The garage that's down in the basement is absolutely chocker full of spirit energy, and there's nothing. There's no groups coming in to go do an investigation in the cellar. Why? It's not as cool as the Victorian. And the people who want to do the cool investigations, they're the Shaggy and Scooby-Doos. They want to go someplace that's pretty so they can have a good photo op. There's a place in Leominster, Massachusetts, has a stream running through the center of Leominster, Massachusetts. Part of this stream runs directly underneath the center of town, surrounded by the courts with running water walking through. I went in there as a child I was 12. I went in there at 12 years old. I will never go back in there again unless I am surrounded by well-intended people, because that place down there is just, it's like a log jam of spiritual energy. It's not a pretty place to be. It's a very loud place to be. Your EVPs will be covered over by the running water, unless you have a good sound technician that can blot that stuff out. But I don't like that place. It scares the bananas out of me. Right in the center of Leominster.
Since you brought up the running water and the place and all this stuff, it reminds me of, I have watched videos on this place and I've read stuff about it. And it was I want to say a hotel, restaurant or something that had the brook running through it where supposedly the young girl drowned.
Right.
You familiar with that?
I believe so. I think that, and let me just, I get an image of split pine furniture. And there's patio furniture, then a drop that goes down about 20 foot, and then there's a brook going through the middle of it.
The brook runs right down through the center of the restaurant part, I think. Right.
Okay, I'm familiar with, I can make the image, but I don't know the name. I'm familiar with it, yes.
And it's something brook. I can't remember the other part of the name, but it's something brook. And it has to do with, it's named after that brook running through it. But
right.
Anyway, the running water through there, and plus, the young girl drowned or the little girl drowned in the actual brook, which would make things more active, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure there's more than one spirit there. In fact, I'm positive there's more than one spirit there. There is also a spirit there of an older woman. When I say older, I'm not talking like ancient old. I'm talking like adult female spirit there.
Right.
As well. And there is the little girl. She's about 6, I think. Somewhere in that neighborhood. So, and I'm sure that's not all of it, but that's what I get from it is there's an older lady there, an adult lady, probably in her mid-20s, mid to late 20s, and and it's not the mother.
Right.
But she's connected somehow. She's there in the same room. They're there together. If that makes any sense, that's all I get from it is that she's there. The little girl's spirit is there. They're both there in that dining area where the brook runs through.
Right.
And she kind of the older lady. I'm getting kind of a what would you call it? A sophisticated. That's not the word I'm looking for. Socialite. There you go.
Okay.
The well dressed. With the air of I'm somebody.
All right. So the older woman feels like she's somebody who should be admired.
Yeah, there you go. It's like all the attention should be on me. I'm somebody, and you're not.
Right.
you know, and the poor little girl, she's scared to death. But
and she's going to have...
She drowned in the creek, you know, and she's just stuck there.
Well, unfortunately, religion is the caretakers of death and life. And if some priest, preacher, deacon, rabbi, imam hasn't gone there and released this little girl, that's on them. All right? Because that's what religions, that's their strength. They are at the beginning of life and at the end of life, and that's what it is. And in between, they're just telling us what to do. There is a spirit that is there that you're aware of that is in distress when you're talking about the little girl. And if somebody of the appropriate religion hasn't gone down there and guided that child to the light, then that's on them. Don't feel bad, Roger, because last I checked, you aren't Reverend Roger yet.
No, but you also do know that places like that, the owners do not want anybody guiding their spirits to the light.
Absolutely, and I know that is it's really frustrating when you can feel that kind of sorrow, because we both are empathic. You feel that kind of sorrow, but you realize, or at least I do, okay, I can't do anything other than try and mollify the spirit by wishing well on them, calming them down, just like you would calm somebody down, like a lost child, okay, who wants to find their mom. You just sit down and talk to him for a little while and say, it's okay, honey, you know, things will be all right. That's the best I can do. I can't say go to the light. I can't say, you know, this is what you say, a couple of Hail Marys and off, you know, Jesus will come down and pick you up. Or I can't, you know, face towards Mecca and drop on my knees and kowtow the appropriate amount of times and then send the child on to Allah. I can't do any of that because I am not religious. That is the realm of those people who have religion. Let them deal with it. And if they can't have empathy for the spirit that's there, and they are not strong enough in their religious convictions to take on those owners who want those spirits there because they can sell guest passes to their rooms, then why are they supposedly representatives of a higher power?
Well,
no, I mean, I am allowed to judge a priest, or I am allowed to judge a person who says that they are God or a higher power's voice because they claim to be a higher power's voice. I don't claim to be. I just say I'm a man, and as a man, I would move everything to try. I would not allow no to be involved in my attempts to try and help a spirit that was in that situation.
You just hit upon something for me that I've thought about a lot. Being the voice of God. Who is the voice of God? Okay, it reminds me of the Star Trek episode where they went to the undiscovered country, or wherever it was, where supposedly God was. And God wanted their spaceship so that he could travel amongst the stars. Why would God need a spaceship? That's what Dr. McCoy said.
I remember that. The Lost Country or something like that.
Why would God need a spaceship?
Right.
Why would God need somebody to talk for him?
Right. Well, therein lies the argument between spiritualism and religion. Okay? Religion is everybody walking in the same direction because that's the direction that someone told them to walk. Spiritualism is walking in a direction because that's the right direction for you to be walking in today. That's the difference. Nobody's telling me to walk this path. I'm walking it. I'm spiritualist. I'm not doing this thing because...
I don't claim to be anything, and that's, I guess, why I was raised Christian,
Mm-hmm.
But I don't claim to be anything. Okay.
Right.
I'm not the voice of God. That's for sure. But the things that I feel, the things that I see, and the things that come to me, I don't think come from God. Okay, like some people would say, well, yeah, you're getting a message from God. He's telling you this stuff, and I don't believe that.
Well, I don't either. I don't either. But I do know that without God, Europe would still be in mud huts, because God became this all-knowing, all-seeing entity that would tell if you've been bad or good. So be good, for goodness sake.
Yes, Santa Claus does that too.
That's William Shatner does. Santa Claus is coming to town.
There's something out there on the way. Some thing.
So all the things that we have spoken about tonight, everything had to do with intent. When you walked into that circle in the hunting, when you were hunting, you didn't intend to find something magical, but you did. Now, you sat there, you spent some time, it felt like you spent hours, you only spent minutes after you left. And when you stepped back in, you intended to step back into this magical place, and it was changed, or you had changed, and your intent made it different. You walked into it and sat down by accident and discovered that place. You also talked to me about a place that was on a bridge over a river. Now, can you share again what happened when you were on that bridge? Do you remember what I'm talking about? Where somebody was walking up to your car and then they just weren't there anymore?
Oh. Yeah.
Now you said it was...
That was so weird. I mean, we were there. There's two bridges there. Okay,
right.
One goes over the river.
Right.
The other one is like just over a ditch or whatever you want to call it, a backflow. I don't know. But anyway, we were on the ditch bridge, not the river one. And we were like just sitting there right on the end of the rail of the bridge thing there. And the car went by us and stopped on the bridge, and you could see it was lit up because of the taillights and stuff. They stopped, they had the car running, sitting there with the lights on, and you could see the two guys get out of the car. They walked to the back, and they're obviously talking and looking at something. And then this third person comes walking down the side of the car, but you don't see him get out of the car. He just is all of a sudden there walking down beside the car. He come across the bridge, and as soon as he hit the dark area where their lights wasn't lighting up anymore, he was just gone. I mean, we waited for him to show up, but he didn't. He was just gone. And they finally got back in their car and drove off, and we were just there by ourselves, with nobody there. Whoever it was just gone.
Well,
and I'm like, I know I saw him walk across that bridge. He entered the dark area, and then poof, he was just gone. And I've seen some things, but when I saw that, I'm like, this is nuts.
But you see, you experienced that. And the other people that were with you at the time, I believe there were two other people with you at the time, right?
My daughter and my son-in-law was with me, and
okay.
All of us seen it.
So you all experienced this thing. So you saw that. You can't explain what happened, but you know that something happened. And that is the definition of paranormal, experiencing something that you can't explain. You could go back there on exactly the same day of the year, under similar conditions and weather, temperature, moisture in the air, and whatever, and try and recreate that, and it might or might not happen. Because it's paranormal, we can't recreate it or if we can create something that is paranormal in nature, it's not paranormal because we've recreated and we have somehow, because we're not aware of it, we don't know what we've done, but somehow we have put together the same factors that happened the first time, a second time, and now we can recreate it, and we just have to figure out what it is that we did. And if you go there with the intent of doing that, that might actually be the focusing agent for the water and the crystal and the granite and the dirt and the trees and the things that are life that are around you to recreate that event. Are you following what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I'm also trying to type in this chat room, and now it won't let me.
Well, I've got control. I must have control of the chat room, so welcome to my radio show.
Okay. Anywho, we're going to take a short break, people. We are back. And I still can't type in the freaking camera.
Sorry, Roger. I'll take care of you from my end, my friend.
Whenever you came in and took over the 101, now I can't sit in the chat room. So, anyway. How we doing, Chuck?
Hey, doing well. I just wanted to give a shout-out there, buddy. Your first show's going great on Paranormal Talk 101. William, I'm a huge fan, buddy. I'll let you two kind of go with it, and I'll be back in the shadows.
All right, Chuck, thank you very much for that compliment. That's kind of thrilling.
We appreciate it. Good to know that we're not falling on our ear. The chat room is, but the rest is going pretty good. Anyway,
well, seeing as we're giving shout-outs, my daughter is listening to my this radio program, which is the first time she's ever tuned in to me, and I'm like, yay!
Well, hello, William's daughter. Nice of you to drop in.
Her name is Autumn, and
Autumn?
She's talking to me on Facebook Messenger. I don't think she's found the. Apparently, you guys have hidden the chat room pretty well here.
Well,
so
I have the chat room, but I can't chat in it. But I can see who's in there and what they're saying. Anyway, I appreciate everybody coming to the chat. Janice, I knew Janice wouldn't let me down. Now, we were talking about the book, and the I can't think of the first name of that. Maybe Chuck might know, since he's here. It was an old hotel restaurant type deal that had a book that went through the middle of it.
Oh, I don't recall that, buddy. But I'm a relative novice when it comes to paranormal.
Okay, well, like I said, I've read stuff on it. I've watched documentaries on it, but I cannot remember the name of it. Something in Brookside Inn or something. Anyways, but we talked about ley lines and stuff, and as you know, William, I'm really into the stuff like the Mayan, Aztecs, the Incas, all that kind of, where they built their temples and their cities and stuff. And they were built on ley lines where they crossed, actually.
Right.
And now, I had a face, and I don't want to really say argument with someone today, earlier, because I posted some pictures of some Mayan temples and stuff. And now we're talking about a tribe of people who lived and hunted in the jungle. All of a sudden, they come out in the opening one day, and they have all this knowledge and this mathematical genius of how to cut these perfect stones and put them together into these magnificent buildings that they were aligned with certain star clusters. And the argument was basically, I don't think that they just came out of the woods all of a sudden and knew how to do that. They had help, okay? That's my thing. But anyway, point being is they also knew, now be it their shaman or whatever, medicine man, whatever they were in those days, could feel those energies. So they knew where to build this stuff so that it used this energy. And people even go to these places now and they still feel this energy. And it reminds me of the places that I ran into in the woods and stuff that I told you about.
Right.
Now, was that one of those places that I ran across where ley lines crossed?
I think that you ran into a perfect storm because you went back in there and you didn't experience it again. You just were in the right frequency of mind. Okay, if you allow me to combine those two misnomers there, your mindset was such that you were focused on your surrounding area. I mean, a hunter does that. He focuses on everything that's around him. People who go hunting, they come back from hunting after putting all this energy out there, and they feel refreshed. Not because they killed a rodent, but because they were able to go out into the woods and experience the woods in using the awareness that hyper sense, hyper hearing, hypervision, to look and feel what is going on around you. That's what a hunter does. And you were out hunting, and without any really preconceived notion of what you were going to do, you ran into a place where the forest gave you so much input that you were able to identify it and enjoy it and relish in it and basically bathe in that energy. And it's something that happened to you how many years ago that you can remember as if it was yesterday?
Yeah, that would have had to have been in 89, 88, 89.
All right, so you were only 8 years old at the time, see?
No. No.
I'm trying to take a couple of decades off you, pal.
But the thing about it is that was the first time that something like that ever happened. But after that time, I ran into those things. I won't say it wasn't an everyday thing, but it was like, it wouldn't matter. I went squirrel hunting with a friend of mine one time, and this was like, I don't know, several years after that.
Right.
And we were separated. He was off somewhere, and I was hunting down a creek bed, and I came up out of the creek bed, and I came up back into the wooded area there. And I was, it was getting late, and I thought, well, I don't know where he's at, but I've got to find my way back to the road to where the car is because I don't want to be stuck here at the car. And because we didn't have flashlights or anything. And as I was walking back in the direction that I assumed the road was in, I ran into another one.
Right.
And same scenario. Just different area, different scenery around me, but the same exact feeling.
Right.
Okay, and then there was another time that I was just out walking around behind where we lived, and every time I hit one of these things, it's in a wooded area. I don't know why that is, but every time.
It's your. I believe that if you can experience a thing repeatedly, next to water, next to granite, I get that Wizard of Oz effect. Okay. I don't know how else to describe it, so just bear with me on that. You are getting this next to earth, loam, trees, woods, spirit of a different type.
It was kind of like Mother Nature saying, "Hey, notice me."
Right, and that I think has to do with the intent. It has to do with the frequency. Okay, and I'm using a scientific. I'm thinking radio here because it's the easiest to visualize in my mind. That you, Roger, are tuned to a frequency when you're out hunting, when you're out not really looking for anything. And this is a question that popped up into my mind right now. You said that you were going in the direction that you thought the road was in when you bumped into another one of these places. Now, just out of curiosity, were you actually walking in the right direction, or were you drawn in that direction for whatever reason?
Well, that's weird because after I came out of that little vortex or whatever it was,
right,
you kept going in the same direction and hit the road.
Okay, so you were walking in the right direction. It just was the right place for you to be at that specific time.
But the other... It's like everywhere I go in a wooded area, I even run into one of these in a cemetery one night. But
okay.
It happened that we were in the bottom corner of the cemetery and there was woods around it.
Right.
It's like I said, it never happens unless it's around a wooded area. Why, I don't know. But we were in the cemetery, right there in the corner there was a soldier's grave, and we were doing some EVP stuff, just messing around there.
Right.
And I kind of stepped back, and I stepped over behind this tombstone, and there's a tree right behind me, but there's woods around the other side of it. And the moment I stepped in front of that tombstone, I stepped right into that.
Well,
and it was the same scenario as all the rest of them. And my daughter was standing next to me, but she wasn't where I was, so she didn't feel it. I said, "Remember me telling you about these that I find?" And I said, "Here, reach in here where I'm at." She stuck her hand in front of me, and it was like, "Wow, I can feel," you know. I said, "That's what I'm telling you that I found in all these different places." You know, and to have somebody else experience it and say, "Yeah, I see what you mean." You know, it's like validation that I'm not nuts, that I know what I'm saying is the real thing. I do find these places. I knew it, but making somebody else believe me. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you already have credibility with a lot of people, okay, the people who listen to your show, and they know that Roger's Roger. Roger's going to tell you the way that he feels it is, and he's not going to take and kowtow to somebody and say, yeah, that's right, that's exactly the truth, when you don't think it is the truth. And if you believe that a thing is, you're going to say it is. And you know what? Because you're Roger, I believe you.
Well, if I didn't, like I said, if she hadn't done that, you know, because for years I've found these places, and I never had anybody around to validate me. And it just happened that we were at the cemetery that night. Me, her, and her husband was at the cemetery that night, and she was standing next to me. And I had her reach in front of me and feel what I was feeling, and it validated to them that I'm not a nut. You know, that what I was telling them is real because I had told them about it before.
Right.
I said, now, you can see that this is what I'm talking about.
Right. Now, did she notice anything about you? I mean, did she notice an aura about you, or an energy field around you, or anything else like that?
She didn't say anything. If she did, of course, it was dark. You know, unless I was just glowing, you wouldn't have knew. But
right.
And I may have been. I don't know.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's a possibility. I don't know. She didn't mention it.
That's crazy. That's crazy interesting, not crazy loony bin. That's just wonderful.
But
it really is.
To explain what this feels like, it's like an ionization of the energy in the air. You know, when you're walking around in your normal everyday life, you know, you feel the wind, you feel the, you know, but in these places you don't feel any of that. What you feel is like a supercharged air around you.
Well,
and
I think
it's kind of like static electricity. You know how it buzzes and tingles?
Yeah.
Okay, that kind of explains what you're feeling, except it's not like you're not being zapped like with electricity, but you can feel the tingle, the energy in the air. It's unbelievable, and you just feel so much peace, and I can't explain it. It's like I said, all your problems just melt away when you're in one of these zones. It's like nothing matters except being there.
Right.
And it's too bad I can't take it with me like when I walk out, right? You know.
Well, I'm telling you, you're preaching to the choir, Raj, because I have a place that I have that I'm lucky I can recreate. Okay, I know exactly where to go stand to go find that energy. And I am just tuned into the right frequency for that. You have to wander around and find it, but when you find it, it's like an Easter egg. You found the golden ticket and you're going to Charlie's factory.
Yeah.
Hey, guys! I got a question for you both. I'm just curious on what your thoughts are about intent and spirit boards, you know, like and tarot card readings such as that.
I am. I'm very much a spiritualist. Okay, I am not a religious person at all, and it has cost me friendships. But I believe that if you wake up in the morning and you intend to do good, no matter what else happens, you will do good. It is intent. I might spill my coffee down the front of my shirt. Oh, well, that's not God's fault. All right? It's not somebody threw a hex on me. It's I'm clumsy and the cup was hot and I spilled it. Okay? But if I want to do good, I will do good. I have a choice every time I talk to my son. I can talk and I can say something negative, or I can talk and I can say something positive. I say that because I just saw my son walk by. So the result of that conversation is going to set up his day. Okay? Now, if he chooses to pass on that good intent with the first conversation and interaction that he has during his day, then he has done good also. Or if I yelled at him, clean your damn room, do your damn this, blah, 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 well, the first person he's going to interact with is also going to get that kind of a negative response from him. Now, that's kind of a domino effect, but let's talk about something that's more esoteric, that's more spiritually oriented. And one of the big things that everyone is absolutely screaming because of this darn movie, okay, Ouija boards. Spirit boards are spirit boards. Intent is what it's all about. Okay? If I pick up a Ouija board and I am curious and I ask a question, that's one thing. If I pick up a Ouija board and I invite a spirit into my life, that's another. I have no intention of hurting or harming or being hurt or being harmed by saying, I would like to know, hey, this would be a good one, I want to know what the new lottery number is going to be, okay? I don't know. Maybe that would be a little bit greedy of me, and I wouldn't get a correct answer one way or the other. But it is the intent. If I am going to Terrapin Traders in Gardner, Mass. Terrapin Traders, January 16th. A friend of mine is having a Ouija board class. This woman is just phenomenal. Okay, I don't think anyone I've ever talked to has, and anyone who is real, has ever had anything negative to say about this person. And she's talking about Ouija boards. All right, so I want to go down and I want to learn. I want to see what she does and what she says and what she has that's going to teach me about Ouija boards. All right, so it's intent. If I read the Bible with the intent of finding out how many different ways I can beat my wife because she has done something that is against God, I'm going to go into the Bible and I'm going to find out how to punish your wife. And guess what? She's going to pick up the Bible and she's going to find out how to punish her husband because it's in there, and I intend to find it, and I'm going to find it. But if I go into any book, any religious book, and I go in there with the intent of finding how do I treat my neighbor, how do I create a society, I'm going to find that too. It's intent. Okay? So tarot cards, if you're out there to try and bilk somebody out of $50 or $100 for a tarot card reading, you're going to get it. You're going to do it. You're going to find just enough information, guess correctly just enough, so that this person wants to give you $50 and calls you back next month. Intent. A religion can hurt people because of intent.
I got a little piece of intent to go in here. Brookdale Lodge, that was the name of that place.
Ah, there you go. Wonderful. Thank you, Roger. I would have gone all night. Where was that place?
A buddy of mine messaged me on Facebook and told me, and I'm like, dang, that's it. Why couldn't I think of that? It was the Brookdale Lodge. But anyway, I agree. I think it's about your intent. If you put out a good intent, you're going to get good results. If you put out a negative intent, you're going to get negative results. And you can call it intent, you can call it frame of mind. It's like I was saying earlier. We vibrate at a frequency. If that frequency, we can change that frequency by our intent, as you said. You know, if our frequency is good, we're going to put out good. But if we entertain negative vibrations, the frequency changes, and everything that you put out is going to be negative.
Right.
And it's pretty much going to rub off on whoever you're around, and they're going to become negative because they know how to block that stuff out.
Birds of a feather flock together.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
But anyways, like if your frequency is positive, you're going to put out a positive. That's like if you wake up and you tell yourself, "Hey, I'm going to have a good day," and you don't let nothing change that frame of mind, you will have a good day. But if you wake up grouchy and all that, and you let negative creep in, you're going to have a bad day. You know, it's what you put out is what you get back. So, as tarot cards, I don't really know where I would go with that one. I don't think it's so much the tarot cards as it is the person doing the tarot reading. Okay, if that person is gifted, the cards are going to say what that person puts out.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I would, you know, I think that tarot cards are a way of focusing.
Yeah, there you go.
So if Roger's looking at a card, and I'm looking at a card, and I'm doing the reading for Roger. I don't read tarot, and I also don't do Ouija boards.
Yeah.
All right? But I'm going to go down and I'm going to learn about these things because being ignorant doesn't make me smart. Hello?
Anyway, that's what I'm saying. I think it's it's kind of like that saying, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Well, the tarot cards are in the eye of the beholder, too. If that person is gifted and they put out an energy, those cards are going to reflect what they're putting out.
All right. Well, what I'm saying is that I don't believe it's the pieces of cardboard in my hand that are going to do the reading.
That's exactly my point. That's what I'm saying.
Right. It's going to be the person on the other side of the table who's looking at that card that's going to give me the reading.
But they're giving you what's coming from them, not what's coming from those cards. That's what I'm saying. Those cards are just a conduit to show what they're telling you.
Right. And the same, I think, with Ouija board. Okay? It's just a facilitating focus. A telescope doesn't really make the ship come any closer, but if you look through a telescope, you can see the ship that's way off in the distance. It's just a way of focusing intent. It's a way of focusing the harmonics of the person who's doing the tarot reading and their intent to find out what's going to be, what the future holds, what the past has happened, what things I can use to validate to have this person believe and be able to get further into the energy that is the person who's on the other side of the table.
For those people in the chat room there, I can see what you're saying, but I can't type in there, so you have to forgive me for that one. It won't let me for some reason. It's big a pain. But anyway, they were mentioning something here in the chat room about astral projection, and I do believe that I do that in my sleep. Now, I can't tell you where I go or what I do when I'm there, but I do know that when I come back, I crash into my body. I jerk up with like a real sudden violent burst of energy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like I can be sound asleep and all of a sudden I'll just jerk up wide awake. And it's kind of like being hit with a ton of bricks. If it makes sense. Everything is smooth, and all of a sudden there's this, as the little Marvin Martian said, it's supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom. Well, that's what it's like. I get the earth-shattering kaboom, and then I jerk up all of a sudden, you know. But anyway, I would love to know where I go and what I do. But maybe I'm not meant to know.
Back when I was drinking, that used to happen to me a lot.
Well, yeah.
Well, my neighbors would tell me what I did.
Other people would tell me where I was and what I did.
That's right. And I didn't know I could swear in that many different languages.
Right. Well, and I didn't know my body could be in some of those positions either. Anyway, I think that, and this is just me because of the other stuff that I've experienced, I think this is a part of who I am that I'm not supposed to, I guess, know about on the physical plane. This is in the mental area. What it is that I do and where I go is... do
you feel that this has something to do with past life or regressions?
I don't know. It's possible. I mean, anything's possible because I don't get... now, I have had some really vivid dreams, and I don't know if these are places that I went.
Right.
That I was at, you know. But I haven't had any of those in a while, so it's like I don't really... but, I mean, when I did, and this happened frequently for about a month, or I was having these, like every 2 or 3 nights, I would have these really vivid dreams. And I could see myself in a place and the colors and everything. And when it would change, like from daytime to nighttime, I could see all that. But it happened in like a matter of seconds, whereas like you have so much daylight time and then it gets dark and then it's dark for so long and then it's daylight. Well, in this dream, it went from daylight to dark to daylight in a matter of seconds.
Right.
You know, and I could tell you it was spring or summertime in this one dream. I could see the green leaves on the trees and the whole 9 yards. Walking along the path, and all of a sudden it's nighttime just like that, and I could see a building, and I can tell you what all went on there, but it's a long story, so we'll skip that. Walk on past the building, and all of a sudden it's daylight again, and I come out at this house on top of a real steep hill. I could see like a 1930s, 40s model old truck and cars sitting off to the side over here next to some trees. And this is what tells me that this is a real place. Is why would I see this clapboard house and this old truck and car sitting here all rusted down and stuff if it wasn't a real place? Because I wouldn't have just made that up in my head. You see what I'm saying?
Well, we have a subconscious that is capable of incredible things. But here's where your perception was that this is something that you did not imagine through your subconscious. It's not something that you saw before and are recreating. It's something that's brand new to your experience. And something similar to that happened when I died, and I went to a place that in my wildest imaginings, I'm just trying to equate this because I'm trying to get the concept that you're talking about. When I died, I went to a place that I would not, in my wildest imagining, have been able to come up with. And there it was. And it comes back to me now, and when I think about it, I'm there. It's like it happened 2 minutes ago, not a decade ago. Okay? So you have something like this happening. You're calling it an astral projection. It's just a word. We don't know if it's astral projection or if it's somebody who's trying on the other side trying to contact you. Or you're just at the right harmonics at that moment to be able to glimpse over the boundary in your sleep. And as an empath, these things, I stopped dreaming. I intentionally, willfully stopped dreaming because of things similar to what you're talking about, you're describing. I cannot remember my dream.
That was one. There was one where I appeared in this big, dark warehouse. And they was like, and see, these places, the stuff that's in there, I could not just make this up. You know, I appeared in this warehouse, and it's like I'm like squatted down on my knee, you know, or whatever, and there's like you can see the concrete floor, you can see like oil stains, and but it's empty. It's not, you know, a used warehouse. It's like a big empty dark warehouse. And there's like paper scraps and stuff all over the floor. And now, if I was going to invent something, I don't think I could have thought of that much detail to invent that. You see what I'm saying? And then this guy shows up, and he's like a young male figure. And he squats down on his knee right there facing me, and he says something, but I can't make out what he's saying. But, I mean, I can see him, his hair color, his hairstyle. He's wearing a blue shirt and blue jeans. You know. And then all of a sudden, it's just gone. I'm not there anymore. But, I mean, it's so real. Everything is so vivid and so real, and there's no way I could have made up all that detail. Is it, why? I don't have a clue. You know, why was I there? Why did he show up there? What was he telling me? I don't know. But I mean, and like I said, usually, and another weird thing about those dreams,
yes, sir.
They would come like at a time where I was waking up, I guess. I would notice at some point as I'm laying there with my eyes closed that I'd been awake for a little bit and I was still in this dream. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It does, and I have experienced, and I'm sure other people that are listening have experienced things similar to that, where you are in a waking dream, and the memory of everything that has transpired before in your dream is right there and right available for you to review. And some people say these dreams are prophetic. Some of them say that they're warnings. It is someone on the other side who's trying to get your attention. All of these things. I'm having a hard time focusing right now. Somebody is. I'm getting what I call continent eye. I have got somebody who's trying to contact me right now. This is just like, it's making it very hard for me to read and check.
I apologize, William. It could be coming, from my direction, and I apologize, guys. I can mute myself here.
You can what?
If you want, I can mute myself.
No. It's not the sound from the. It's not the sound from the phone. That I am hearing that, and we're going to work through it. I have got what I call continent eye. It's a water over the top of my left eye, and it comes usually when somebody is giving me the Harry Carey thing. They're doing something negative towards me, and I'm finding it very difficult to focus on what we're talking about. I'm sorry. Anyway, okay, we're talking about dreams and their astral projections, or the words that that Roger used as astral projection, but they may just be dream therapy. There may be people on the other side trying to contact him, right? Maybe prophetic. It may be. Have you ever noticed, Roger, that you have these dreams before something happens to you? Or, and I hate to put it like this, but a loved one dies, or something unexpected happens that would be either really, really good or really, really bad.
Let's say when those dreams started, I was in a group on Facebook on things where. Basically, most of them in there were medium, so to speak. And they would put up pictures and ask us to read what we saw in the pictures and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I actually read a picture where I knew where. Which area of the house, because it had a row of windows at the top, and it was like a ballroom area.
Right.
And there was a stairway off to the left. That's where one of the people died. They fell down those stairs. I saw that. I don't know why I saw that, but I did.
Right.
I saw the wife's face in the window. The husband fell down the stairs and passed. But anyway, it's like after all that, that's when the dream started.
Right.
And I don't know if it's connected to all that somehow, although I wouldn't understand why unless the warehouse and the factory that I saw in the one dream are connected to the husband. But maybe that was his business. He was a businessman. I'm assuming he was.
Right.
That could have been all connected somehow, and maybe that was like an overflow from that. I don't know.
Well, here's where everyone in the paranormal is going to have an opinion about it, and here's my opinion on this thing, okay? If you feel like one event is connected to the other event, then it is. And the reason I can say that is because I am not in authority. I don't pretend to be in authority. I can say that there is an instinctive reaction, okay? Having never seen a bear, if I hear something go, behind my back while I'm walking in the woods. I'm up a tree. I'm not going to ask what it is. Instinctively, I know that if it's something big and it's growling behind me, I'm up a tree. I don't need anyone to explain to me this is an omnivorous animal that weighs 350 pounds. I'm up the tree, right?
Well,
it's an
I hate to break this to you, but bears can climb trees.
He can't outclimb me, I've got to tell you, because I got a 350-pound bear. I am Squirrel Boy.
All right. Anyway, yeah, I see what you're saying, though.
Okay, but so if you feel that you are going through these exercises with the people in your group, and you saw something, and whether it was validated or not, you saw or felt this thing, and it had an impact on you to the point where you were able to tell the gender, you were able to tell the relationship between one person and the other person, and you know that something bad or something ended at that time, and you went to sleep the next night and you had this event happen to you and it has been it has stayed with you after all these years, yeah?
Well, this was last year. This was last year when this stuff was happening.
Okay, so it has stayed with you for a year. They're thinking, man, don't ask me what I had for lunch yesterday. This has stayed with you for a year. All right? So there you go.
And this is another thing, and this is going to be really weird. You're going to love this one. We were talking about this person who was a witch, right?
Right.
And I have nothing against witches. I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
But this person was practicing the black arts.
Okay.
And we were talking about it, and they're like, well, I get this feeling, that she's this and she's doing this and she's doing that. Well, and y'all close your little virgin ears, because I got to tell you that I had to go take a crap about this time. And while I'm sitting on the crapper, I close my eyes and I'm sitting there on the crapper and I'm doing my thing, and I get this picture all of a sudden, this little mini video, little mini movie thing of this woman in a black cloak with the hooded thing walking through the woods here, and there's like a fire pit that you see, and she has this look on her face of like, I'm about to do something really dirty and nasty here.
Right.
If that makes sense, you could tell that she was up to no good. And all of this going with the conversation that we were having about this person practicing the black arts. And then I get this little mini video scene of this person walking through the woods with the black cloak and the hood on towards this fire pit that's out in the middle of the woods in the middle of nowhere. And so I link it all together, and I'm like, this is her, this is what she's doing, and she's about to put some bad mojo on somebody.
Right.
I didn't get the particulars of what she was trying to do or who she was going to do it to, but I knew that she was going to do something not so very nice against somebody. Now, maybe it was something that she was pissed off at in that group, because she was actually a member of the group.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe somebody said something that ticked her off. Who knows? I don't know. All I know is the vision came immediately as I took this break from our conversation, and I was off doing my thing.
Well, so far as the Wicca is concerned and the evil that you feel that she was going to do, I have a firm belief that 1 out, 3 back. It's intention, and it has nothing to do with which direction I genuflect or how I wave my hands around and touch myself on my forehead and my belly button. It's 1 out, 3 back. If you're doing good to people, you're going to get good back. And if you have this precognitive story that you're talking to us about, just a hint, I don't need to know that you're on the crapper. But if you had this precognitive...
Well...
If you had this precognitive, that was TMI, my friend. You overshared.
I had to go, and that's where I was when I was leaving.
All right, don't go back there. You can't make it right. The fact that you were on the crapper had nothing to do with the story.
Well, yes, it did.
Oh my God, Roger, this is why I love you so much, man. You're just so genuine.
That's where it was when I had the vision. So yeah, it was connected.
All right, hey, you know what? I didn't have, okay, you win. It was part of the story. But I also have a friend. I have a friend who is, she runs Terrapin Traders down here. She is the most just beatific person, okay, in her heart. If somebody comes into her store and they're going to steal a gem or a crystal or something from her, she walks over, she picks it up and hands it to them and says, there, it's a gift. She's just that kind of person. She knows more than she ever lets on, and she's just that kind of a person. And guess what? She's not anything but Wicca. She believes that 1 out, 3 back. She's got all these wonderful things going for her. She's been in business I don't know how long, and she's going to be in business until she doesn't want to be anymore. And somehow the good that she gives out always comes back to her times 3. Exactly. That's just, okay, so I do not want to put that down. She is a practicing Wicca, but if I tell her what is Wicca, she says it's just a word. It's just a word that goes along. It puts the parentheses on a set of beliefs. I don't tell anybody anything's right, and I don't tell anybody anything is wrong. And she is the most spiritual religious person I know. But when she asks me, are you religious, I say no. And she says, okay, I'll live with you. I live with you being a spiritual person. So I'm just saying that because, yes, evil can happen, evil does happen, but that doesn't mean that any one group is evil or any one group is bad, is good. Okay, they don't inherit good. You still got to get up in the morning and decide you're going to have a good day.
What it gets down to is I didn't ask for any of this stuff. I didn't wake up one day and say, man, I want to see this weird crap while I'm taking up, And,
yeah. You had to go back there, didn't you?
I don't want to look in windows on a picture and see a person staring out and a body falling down steps and stuff like that. I didn't ask for that. Didn't want it. But it happened, and the places that I told you about that I've walked into, they all happen. And sometimes it makes me think, well, dude, you're just weird. That's why you have this stuff going on. You're just weird and you're not like everybody else. I see now why they call you a nut. But no, it happens, and most of the time the people that it happens to weren't looking for it, didn't want it, didn't care, living their own personal. Now there are those that were born into it. They were, had this stuff going on since they were a kid. Not so much with me. Now I did see the spirit when I was 9, so that I guess has something to do with it. But
right.
I didn't ask for any of that stuff. I didn't ask to see my neighbor's dead mother walk past me on the sidewalk. It just happened. I didn't ask for, the energy spots that I walked into. I didn't ask for that to happen. It just happened. I didn't ask for the stuff that I've seen. I didn't ask for the stuff that I get that I had to tell people sometimes. Which fortunately for me, none of that has been bad. Okay, everything that I've kind of got that I've talked to a friend about has all been on the good side. So,
well, Roger, you have created that. You have created that within the community that you work in, and I just want to put it out there, Roger. You and the people that are in your group, that are in your investigative group, have helped people. You have gone into places where people have been told there are demons roaming the hallways. And you have gone in there and just scared the raccoon out of the closet and said, okay, your demon's gone. You have gone into places that really were spiritually active, and the people didn't know what to do, and you calmed them enough so that they were able to deal with it, and you allowed the people who owned the house to own the situation and empowered them with your intent to make things right. And you do good to other people, good will come back to you, and you don't do good because you want good to come back to you. You do good because it's the right thing to do. Roger, you are a fantastic person. All of the people who know you and have experienced your group and how they go on investigations are always very favorably impressed with the results of what you find and how you deal with those people and help them.
Well,
that is all about intent, my friend.
To be blessed with a lot of good friends who genuinely care about me. Janice is one of my really good friends. Don't know what I'd do if she wasn't around sometimes. But and people like you and Chuck and Kenny and I could name, the list goes on and on and on. But, I really think that the people you are connected with influences what you are, or what you put out. If you're connected with good people, you naturally want to put out good things. If you're connected with bad people, your bad side's going to come out and you're going to put forth some, and I have run into some people that brought out the bad side of me a little bit. But we won't go there because you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah, Obama. It's his fault.
That's one. Just saying that,
I had to do it, Roger. It's 2 hours. I had to say something.
I know. What you put out kind of comes, like you said, what you put out is what you get back. And, I've been blessed with a lot of really good friends, and I get back a lot of positive from them. It just makes it easier for positive to come out of me. And we are coming up on the close. About 1 minute away. I really appreciate William coming on and sharing your wealth of knowledge with us. William is a very smart individual. I don't care what he says.
You don't care about my politics then, right?
Well, I said you're a really smart person. I didn't say you were a genius. Anyway, I really enjoyed this. We've had an awesome premiere. I hope everybody else enjoyed it as much as we did.
Thank you for tuning in to Half Past Dead Paranormal with your host, Roger Belt. We hope you've enjoyed the show, and tune in again next week as we look for more answers to the unexplained, unknown, and unseen. Stay safe and happy hauntings.